Hello, Algorators. Court is back in session. I'm Al Reynolds, and this is the Court of Public Opinion. I'll be serving as your judge, and you, the people, will serve as the jury. Now, here in the Court of Public Opinion is the place where your voice can and will be heard. So don't forget to get your questions together just in case you want to ask our legal beagles. Be sure to hit that like button. If you're not subscribed, be sure to hit that subscribe button. If you are subscribed, be sure to hit that share button. Don't forget to turn on your notifications because, like I said, this week we're going to make a lot of new announcements. And also drop down in the comments because we love hearing what you have to say. All right, let's introduce our two legal beagles. We have our fiery civil attorney, Shatan Turner. Shatan Turner, welcome back to the Court of Public Opinion.
Hi, Your Honor. So excited to be back. Hope you had a great vacation.
Oh, I've been traveling more than just vacation, working, traveling, COVID, back to teaching this week. Shatan, we can't see you because your glasses got a little glare. If you can go without them, we really would love it. There we go. Show that beautiful face. And joining her tonight, our criminal defense attorney, Brian Ross, one of the original three, Brian Ross. Brian Ross, welcome back to the Court of Public Opinion.
Thank you very much. Good to see you. Glad you're back. Glad you're healthy.
Absolutely. You're back in the country. The kids are back in school. Everything's good.
Life is back to normal.
I doubt if you ever say that your life is back to normal, but we'll take it. All right, everybody. Don't forget, Shatan Turner, the attorney, Turner goes by the fire emoji. And don't forget, the criminal defense attorney, Brian Ross, goes by the briefcase. And me, we go by the fax machine. So throw those emojis, the fire, the briefcase, and the fax machine in that chat as we get ready for tonight's first story. First case up. And this case really makes me very sad. All right, Jefferson Bates, you have found yourself in the Court of Public Opinion because you are stealing, what is it considered, I guess, the phrase, very demure, very mindful, from a trans woman, Jules LeBron. Now, Jules LeBron says that she was using the money that she was receiving from this very popular phrase to do her SRS surgery. It was used to fund her SRS surgery. Now, this is interesting because this trend is all over TikTok and celebrities have stepped into the chat. You have J-Lo is using the term. Kim Kardashian is using the term, and Lindsay Lohan is using the term. And this guy, Jefferson Bates, has now stolen that term. And let me hear from the attorney who's taking this. Brian Ross, what is going on? He's stealing the trademark of the phrase. So is this a trademark case or is this a copyright case?
It's a trademark case. So Jules LeBron is this influential social media influencer, whatever term you want to give her. What I can't believe is that she's invented this phrase, very demure, that has gone on to sometimes get 35 million views on TikTok. Insane. 35 million views. Now, if you peel the phrase back, you actually have a lot of bread there. She's trying to make younger people care about their appearance. When you go to an interview, look professional. When you're going to go to school, look professional. So there's a lot of value there.
Okay, hold that thought, Brian. We have a clip. A bailiff, show the clip.
Please. Yes.
Work, very demure, very mindful. I don't come to work with a green cut crease. I don't look like a clown when I go to work. I don't do too much. I'm very mindful while I'm at work. See how I look very presentable? The way I came to the interview is the way I go to the job. A lot of you girls go to the interview looking like Marge Simpson and go to the job looking like Patty and Selma. Not demure. I'm very modest. I'm very mindful. You see my shirt? Only a little chichi out, not my chocho. Be mindful of why they hired you. Here's your reality check, diva. What's the name you'd like me to make it out to?
All right, so if I understand this correct, Attorney Ross, this young man, Bates, has decided that because he probably went online, saw that it wasn't trademarked, saw how much traction it was getting, decided to file a trademark. Now, finish what you were saying. Is that bad? He saw a business opportunity. She did not take advantage of everything that she was supposed to do to protect her intellectual property. He decided to take advantage of it. Is that legal?
Remember, if you are trying to use something in a trademark, it has to be what's called in the stream of commerce. So all our listeners, your entrepreneurs, let's suppose you want to start a t-shirt line, right? And the t-shirt line is called Very Demure. You have to already have the t-shirt printed. It needs a website will be helpful. You have already had to sell them. You don't have to sell them for a lot. It could be $1, right? You have receipts to show it. So when you go to what's called the USPTO, United States Patent and Trademark Office, and move to trademark this t-shirt, you've shown that it's already being used in the stream of commerce. In this instance, it doesn't sound like Jefferson Bates has that advantage. What it sounds like is what he is, what's called just a theft, a pirate. So he took this idea and realized that, I'm sorry, that Very Demure didn't do it. Should have done it and capitalized on it. So is he a bad guy? No, not really. He's actually a genius, but he probably isn't using it.
So that was my question. Like, if she's not taking advantage of what she was supposed to take advantage of, why is he, Attorney Turner, why is he being beat up for doing what was business savvy?
Now, Attorney Ross might know the answer to this question, but I have a theory. Is Mr. Bates white?
I don't know.
Sounds like it. He's in Washington State. He has a Washington State address. He has a phone number in Nevada.
Yeah, we don't want to assume, but chances are, and so I can verify that whether or not he's Caucasian. The reason that makes a difference is because it fits into the narrative of Caucasian people taking advantage of people of color and capitalize on their work product. So in this case, you have this trans woman who came up with this viral phrase, and it's getting all kinds of traction, like Brian said. This person has filed this trademark application in the Patent and Trademark Office in order to get a bite at that apple and prevent her from doing anything more with it from an economic perspective until she reconciles with him. And so it's kind of a genius way if you like are a bottom feeder, right? You just go online, you hang out, you squat and look to see what's popular, and then you try to beat them to the PTO so that you can have rights in something that you didn't actually create. Trademark is not about the creation. As Brian mentioned, it's about using it in the stream of commerce. And one of the things that I think is also fascinating is the notion of trademark rights from a common law perspective based on usage on the internet, because all of those clicks that Brian mentioned, I'm sure this person is monetizing her page considering how popular she is. And so that is stream of commerce, and it's a national, international platform. So I think this will actually be very interesting to see whether that trademark application would even be approved, given the fact that she already has so much traction and clearly has common law rights in this phrase.
Okay, got it. Okay, Bailiff, can you bring all three of their attorneys, both their attorneys and myself, to the main stage? I want to be very transparent here. When I first started the Court of Public Opinion, it was an idea that I woke up over the weekend and I said, hey, I want to start a show called Infotainment. I feel like my space is infotainment, right? Infotainment is entertainment that has an informational kind of teach people the law. You know, a new show that I'm going to be launching is teaching people about financial security and financial gain and all that type of stuff. So we started a show called the Court of Public Opinion. I've jumped on this wave. I called a couple of my lawyer friends and said, hey, let's teach people the law using Diddy as a background. So what I didn't do, though, I started it, right? I followed the Diddy case. We had a lot of great success with people following our legal beagles talking about the Diddy case, but I didn't do my I didn't do my homework. I didn't do my due diligence. I didn't do everything that I was supposed to do. When I created the Court of Public Opinion, the first thing I was supposed to do before I launched was to trademark it. So guess what? I got sent a cease and desist by attorneys in New York City, and they told me that I needed to take down all of my Diddy content because they had trademarked court of public opinion. So backtracking, I hired an attorney. She looked into the trademark, found out that the person did not trademark court of public opinion until after I had launched the court of public opinion. And so because I had launched court of public opinion, I'm just making up a date, April 1st, they saw the success of it. They went and filed or put in an application on the 15th. What I found out legally was because I had show, I had property, I had a logo, I had attorneys talking for 2 weeks before it was filed. I have the ability now to file, and my application will go in before their application. Wow. Isn't that interesting?
Well, that's because you're using it, though, and that's what it's about, right? And the design of that trademark law is to stop these pirates from doing that. There's a backside to it called squatters. People get something that they like, right? LeBron tried to trademark Taco Tuesday. Remember that? Taco Tuesday. Taco Tuesday. He said every Lakers game, Taco Tuesday. Because you're not Taco Tuesday. You're not using Taco Tuesday. You don't own any taco shop. You just like the name of it, and it was working for you. Sadly, it belongs to every Mexican spot in East LA. You can't have it. And that's
right. You know what? What I thought was so interesting, though, and this is for all of our viewers, listen, when you have an idea, before you put it into action, meaning before you put it out on the internet, before you post it on Instagram, before you put it on TikTok, do your due diligence and trademark it. It's very inexpensive to trademark. You can do it yourself. You can go to trademark.org or trademark.com. You can hire a lawyer. So I'm just saying, take it from someone who put all this hard work in starting the court of public opinion. And because I was not doing my due diligence, almost had it taken away from me. That's one side. The other side is I thought how interesting it was that this pirate was looking at the success of my show and decided, you know what, as lawyers, let's scare him. Let's scare him. I don't know what they were thinking. I have 4 to 5 lawyers at my beck and call every day. So
you might know a couple. You might know a couple.
It just didn't work. But think about it. If I didn't do a lawyer show, I would have taken that lawyer letter very serious, and I probably would have taken my content down until I seek legal advice. But luckily, I didn't. Luckily, I got legal advice, and look where we are. Attorney Turner, I think, tell me that interesting story, because how did didn't the steakhouse Ruth Chris have like this whole issue of trademarking in their name? Do you remember that story?
Yeah, so it's one of the foundational cases of trademark law, and it has to do with the notion of developing common law rights in the use of a name in commerce, as attorney Ross was indicating. So there were 2 restaurants that had similar names, and they each had kind of built equal value from a common law perspective. I keep saying common law, and that might not resonate with all the viewers. So what that means is that your rights exist as a function of usage, as opposed to having your rights exist as a function of filing your trademark.
So in my example, use my example, Shaitan. So my common law was the first day that I posted my first video. My trademark application, however, is going to be different from that, but they're going to backdate it to my common law status, which was the first time that I posted the court of public opinion saying, the first time I posted my video. So that will be the start date of my application.
Yes.
And that's why right.
Yeah, they connect the usage to the filing date to determine when the rights originated. And so whoever has the proof of the first usage from a commerce perspective of the mark in dispute is the person whose rights are superior.
I love that. I love that. That's good information. All right, everybody. Jeffrey Bates, we got our eye on you over here at the Court of Public Opinion, and you will not do Jules LeBron wrong. We're going to make sure we stay on top of this case. Next up, Nicki Minaj Welcome back to the Court of Public Opinion. You're being sued $5 million in damages for emotional distress and slander for calling one of your fans a crazy stalker on welfare. Now, Attorney Ross, I want to bring this to no, or is it Nikki? No, this is Attorney Shatan Turner. I want to bring this to you. Now, the interesting thing here that I thought was very interesting about this case is that Nikki's lawyer, who's Judd Bernstein, says that Mr. Peak has been harassing Nicki on social media for years, and that he is going to, in fact, regret that he ever brought this case against Nicki, because he's going to have to pay Nicki Minaj's legal fees. What I also thought was extremely interesting was Tamir Perk, or Peak, however you say his name, has taken this to the LA Superior Court, and he is not backing down. He's saying that she invited him to her hotel and streamed with 100,000 people and embarrassed him and bullied him. That he also was battered by Nicki's husband at the 2020 Super Bowl. All right, this sounds really bad. Now, if anybody knows Nicki Minaj, it may not be Nicki that harasses her, who harasses people, but she's got some faithful fans. And if you mess with Nicki, you mess with those fans. Attorney Turner, what's going on here with the Nicki Minaj lawsuit?
So he's suing Nicki Minaj for defamation. And this case is really, I mean, if it wasn't real people's lives, it'd be kind of funny, right? So she calls him crazy stalker on welfare, right? Now, crazy stalker, she might argue, well, I wasn't using stalker in the legal term. I was using stalker in the term of this is some fool who keeps bothering me and it is uninvited. So yeah, he's a stalker in the streets, right? The elements of defamation that he has to prove are very interesting. So people say all the time, like, you slandered me, or, you slandered me is a common phrase. And people are all the time like telling people to stop. And some people even send baseless cease and desist letters about this. And what most people don't understand, and those who are watching tonight need to, you have no slander or defamation claim. Slander is the oral defamation. Libel is written, but you have no claim if it's not false, right? If it's true, if it is true, you can share that information with whomever you want. So for defamation, you need a false statement, publication, which means you told somebody. You need to have fault that says you didn't really care whether or not it was true or not, but it ends up being a lie, and there needs to be harm, right? And you have to satisfy all the elements in order to prevail. So I think there's a few things. One, the harm piece is going to be one of the most challenging for this Mr. Peak to satisfy, because one could argue that in this case, this bad publicity was better than no publicity, because I bet he gets into some clubs for free and he gets some like perks, like Nicki Minaj is coming out of her mouth, right? People say, keep your name out my mouth. In this case, Mr. Peak probably got the come up because Nicki is even talking about him, right? And I think that the stalker piece, I imagine that she said stop, right? Because she wouldn't have said that called him a crazy stalker if it had been invited. And you know what it's like, Al. I don't flow like you do, but people who are sometimes they do invite you to come into a picture or something like that. That doesn't mean they want to have you over for dinner. So Pete probably the reality check.
So he probably thought that she was being friendly to him. That she probably thought, that he deserved to be her good friend, and that just wasn't what the intention was for her. But Attorney Ross, help me out here. She did say, if you were his attorney, what would your argument be? Because she did say that he was one sandwich short of a picnic.
My client has not been able to sleep in days. He, along with the other Nicki Minaj tribe, follows her, supports her. In fact, he is so supportive of her that she's gained money because of his support. And when he shows up to see some sort of compassion for that support, she says he's one sandwich short of her. This completely damaged his reputation in the community. He had followers. Now they're making fun of him. He can't sleep. He's losing sleep. He's losing weight, and Nicki Minaj is to blame. I think we can settle it for $5 million, just south of it, maybe. And I think that things will be fine if she cuts the check. There's your argument right there. Summed it up. It's insane. Nicki Minaj is being stalked by this person. There's no way that he should be able to get $5 million. But if you want me to make the argument, I'll try and do it for you.
You know what? It's like in this particular case, because it keeps resurfacing. I mean, you might as well just throw him a couple of $100,000 to make it go away so that you don't have to continue to talk about this guy. He doesn't have to keep coming back. He's been doing this with her on and off allegedly for 15 years. For 15 years.
No, I was going to say that's also the point. Like over this period of time, it's just like if you were dating somebody and you broke up with them, you may have invited their attention when you were dating them. But if you've been broken up for 15 years, they don't want to hear from you anymore. And if you keep showing up where they are, you are stalking them.
Look, and let me tell you something. Buddy boy, you better watch out. Nicki Minaj has a boyfriend/husband who got a little bit of history. Okay.
Right, exactly. And then, listen, you talking about she doesn't need her boyfriend or her husband. She has fans. And when I tell you her fans are probably the greatest fans in all of fandom, her fans, like, you do not mess with Nicki Minaj. They will show up like on site. Nicki Minaj fans show up on site. There is no problem. There won't be no problem because our fans will handle it. Speaking of breaking up, though, Attorney Turner, Tina Knowles, and Richard Lawson, welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. Judge Mathis and Linda Mathis, welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. And J-Lo and Ben Affleck, we might not have a picture, but Ben Affleck, welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. Okay, Attorney Turner, you are kind of going through a divorce, and I hate keep bringing that up, but I'm leaning on you because it's always better to lean on someone who's currently going through a situation. I've been through this type of public divorce before. I can lean in a little bit. Brian, actually, believe it or not, guys, was around when I was going through my divorce from my celebrity ex-wife. And at that time,
I was a fantastic shoulder to cry on. I never got reimbursed for that.
He was a fantastic shoulder to cry on, but I think he might have been 2 years out of law school, and he was probably one of the worst lawyers. He was probably one of the worst lawyers that I ever had.
I was more of a counselor than an attorney. I will agree with you on that.
All right, let's go back to Tina Knowles and Richard Lawson. After 13 months and 8 years of marriage, they've decided that they have come to an amicable settlement. Richard gets $300,000 in a 2021 Cadillac Escalade, while Tina gets to keep all of her properties in both Los Angeles and Texas. All right, Attorney Turner, tell me what is going on. This is what I'm not understanding with this particular marriage. It was 8 years. That's a significant amount of time. Why did it take 13 months for them to come to such a, what would be considered humble separation and settlement?
Things take time, right? You remember that old R&B song, like Make It Last Forever? People want that to apply to their relationship, not to their divorce. But sometimes when you don't have a prenup, it takes a long time to unravel everything. So the legalities of marriage in many respects complicate the love that's supposed to be associated with marriage. So in this case, they wanted to divorce, and based on what we can see in the media, they are wealthy people with a lot of assets, and they are prolific in how they earn this money. I mean, Tina Knowles' Instagram alone has all of these followers, and she designed clothes for a while. So there's all of these things that she's involved in. He has a production company which is successful, made a lot of money, but they were older when they got married, right? They were older, and so they came into the marriage with assets. They appeared to not have a prenuptial agreement. They both made money. And so then it became a conversation with, what am I actually going to ask you for? Here's a news flash. Just because you're entitled to something under the law doesn't mean that you have to pursue it from your spouse. So in this case, They did the honorable thing, in my opinion, based on their tenure and
Mm-hmm.
experience. Both waived their rights to spousal support.
Yeah, I like that.
And then she came up, or they came up together with an amount that represented what she believed he was entitled to and what she was comfortable paying. And so that's the $300,000 in the Escalade. But the fact that they both got to keep their earnings that they made during the marriage, the fact that they both waived spousal support, and here's the other thing that people could learn from, including me, including me. They also signed a mutual non-disparagement clause, which means they agree not to talk shit about each other, right? And that's a pretty powerful one, because if you know anybody who's going through a divorce or who's recently been divorced,
you want to talk crap.
Exactly. So they're trying to be adults about this. They're trying to be fair, and they're trying to teach each other with dignity and respect. And I think we could all learn from that.
All right, let me tell you, Attorney Ross, we're talking 10, 16 years later. I'm coming to you again, Attorney Ross. The one thing I think I would have done differently in my divorce, and I would say, and it was a choice. I decided that I wanted to come out what I went in with, right? So for me, I knew that I could get spousal support, but I didn't think it was the honorable thing to do. Attorney Ross, given the circumstances here, would you have told him to go after spousal support? She's making a gazillion of dollars. Her daughter is worth a gazillion dollars. Would you have given him advice to get what he is, what it's, I wouldn't say earn, let's not use that word, but what is available to him?
I absolutely would have told him to get all that money right now, because on your show, all the women who you always have side with the women. So I'm going to perpetually promote the man. Okay. And in this particular moment, you were married to Jay-Z's mother-in-law. Okay. So you are entitled to some sort of compensation, whether it was we built the house together and I had to deal with it. She traveled all the time to support her daughter. I ran her other businesses. I did something to be entitled to some sort of spousal support. What that amount would be, I don't know. But I wouldn't have just walked away with $300,000 in a used Escalade. I would have had to get a little bit more from that. She's close to being, probably has what? Her daughter's a billionaire, so she's close to something. I definitely
I agree. I would have to agree with that. And Shaitan, I know what Shaitan is doing, because I know Shaitan's ex is seeking spousal support. Is that correct, Shaitan? Do you mind if I share that, or do you not want to talk about it?
We're not going to get into the details of my situation. That is not a fact in this case, as I'm aware.
Okay.
But I think the more interesting part about it, as it relates to the notion of spousal support, is like we talked about in another show. It's a formula in many states, but just because somebody can ask for it doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to get it. There's certain things that can offset the spousal support calculation that may have been a factor here. So Attorney Ross mentioned presuming that Mr. Lawson was all helpful in her businesses. I kind of doubt it. Tina Knowles was Tina Knowles before she met that man.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
Hey, Al, she was calm for a second, right? She was real professional. But then the sister came out.
She couldn't wait. You saw those veins popping out of her neck. She couldn't wait to stand up.
Leaned into the microphone, hands in the air. Sorry, Shaitan.
You hit a chord. But what I suspect is this, right? Part of the reason I think he probably only got the 300 is because I bet Tina was instrumental in helping him grow his business while they were together. And so she may have waived her right to seek an offset of whatever spousal support that he was going to seek based on her efforts and contributions to his career and development. So it gets complicated. You have the formula, but then the court also considers a variety of factors. When they're small children, for example, if someone was seeking spousal support, that might be offset by their child support obligations based on whoever has primary legal and physical custody of the kids. So money's funny, right? I think that what we have learned through Tina and Richard and Judge Mathis and his wife, and even my poor little J-Lo and Ben, is that love doesn't always last forever. And if it doesn't, we have a choice with how the relationship unravels. You can choose to be honorable, like Mr. Lawson, or you can choose to be like Rachel Lindsay's soon-to-be ex-husband that we talked about a few weeks ago, who was just like choosing to under-earn and demand money from her.
Right. Now, I want to be very clear here.
One thing.
I want to be, hold on. I want to be very clear here. Richard Lawson has been acting for decades. I mean, this man is not just some regular guy off the street that she met and he had a production company. I would say, from what I see, he got pushed down because he probably settled because he was legally burdened with all the costs. I just smell that that's what she used for 13 months to get this man to take this settlement. She can argue that she made him more popular than he was, even though he's been acting for 30 plus years. She, obviously is Tina Knowles. She's the mother of one of the most influential music icons of the century. You know what I'm saying?
She literally gave birth to a movement. Tina literally
exactly. But that's why I think that it's very sad to me to see this type of humble, meager settlement for someone like this. He gave 8 years of support in that, and for her to shoo him away and say, here, just take $300,000 and an Escalade, it just appears to me that 13 months was a tactic to wear him down with lawyer costs. And that's what happens when you have more money. You wear them down, because you can imagine after 13 months battling with one of the biggest entertainers and their lawyers team, you probably have $250,000 in law fees. And there's $500,000 in law fees. Because Tina Knowles' team doesn't come with just one lawyer, it comes with 10.
Yeah, but we also have to remember with his career, he had resources. And so what you described is one thing that may have occurred during those 13 months. But I also think what may have occurred during those 13 months is they started out with more conflict and hostility than they had at the end. Right. And so by the end, they were able to have a conversation that wasn't as emotionally fueled, and it was influenced by fairness, because he's successful enough that he had competent counsel. Right. And competent counsel would not have had him settle for a lot less than he could have gotten. So unless he's got some other issue that would require him to settle for such a low amount, I think that there's something that was going on during that relationship that gave her an offset, which made $300,000 a reasonable amount.
Wow.
All right, everybody, be sure to hit that like button because we're learning a lot tonight. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you are subscribed, don't forget to hit the share button. Turn on your notifications because a lot of good stuff is coming up. And be sure to drop down in these comments because we're loving all the questions that you're asking. This next couple, it just really saddens me because, I'm close to one of the members in this family. Judge Mathis and Linda Mathis, after 39 years, are filing for divorce. Jade, this is all my love goes out to Jade, their oldest daughter, who is located in Washington, D.C. She has a very successful law practice there. I just heard for this couple, they always, to me, were couple goals. They were like LaTanya and Samuel L. Jackson. They were like Denzel and his wife. They were like, to me, who?
Paulette.
Yeah, Paulette. They were like Cookie and Magic. Everywhere you saw those couples, you saw, Judge Mathis and Linda Mathis. They were like Hollywood royalty. He has the longest syndicated talk show than any other Black male in entertainment, like almost close to 30 years. What happens when after 39 years, you have to call it quits? Attorney Ross, what say you?
Let me tell you something. That is a tough. Beyonce Knowles' mom situation was much easier than that, believe it or not, because they're two adults. They didn't have children in common. They didn't have much to share. Okay, so $300,000 in Escalade gets it done. You've been married to someone for 30, 40 years, and you did it the right way. You have assets, pensions. You don't have to be a NFL player or a movie star to accumulate wealth in this country. $1 million does it less. And you got to split that up. There's emotions behind it. I've seen these divorces, and they're not fun. And really, there's parts of me that still doesn't understand them, and I don't have to understand all of them. Like, I'm going to go out here as a man now and just say this. I'm going to go off the legal side. You know, I had a woman by my side for 30 or 40 years, and she was there with me. It's going to be really hard for me to leave that person. Just who I am. I'm built that way. Right. It's hard for me to understand it. But it's not, again, I'm not going to judge anyone here. So it's a lot to that.
I would think after 39 years, unless you're doing something that's just totally disrespecting me in public, like sleeping with other men or other women, making babies right underneath my nose, moving women in the house or being in the house with us. We're going to be roommates. I'm sorry.
What type of woman moved in? I need to know what she
buy you your own house. I will continue to take care of you. You can drive any car you want. You can go on as many shopping sprees as you want. We're going to stay married, though. That's how I would do it. Shaitan, what say you?
There's a couple cars you can't drive in mine. Sorry, Shaitan.
I mean,
39 years, Shaitan.
The Mathises aren't alone, though. I don't know if you guys have been following this, probably because of my own situation. I've been reading about divorce, love, and relationships, and constantly. This thing called the gray divorce is apparently a thing. So these older people, they've been together for a long time, and they're like, you know what? I am up to here with this person. I've been dealing it for so long. I deserve to have 1 ounce of happiness in my life, so I'm going to get out. Now, the thing about the Mathises that's interesting is that, you know, unless they're Oscar-winning actors, and if they are, they really should have gone to Hollywood and made some different life choices. They seem pretty happy on that reality TV show.
Right,
they did. Like a couple, who was like seething and secretly dealing with something. I mean, you never know what goes on behind closed doors, but it's harder to hide when you have cameras in your house like that. So what I suspect is there is something that we don't know about that may come to light, or it will only be known by the two of them. But you're right. You don't get to 20, 25 years even, you know, without having something considerable occur. Unless it's just the straw that broke the camel's back. You just wake up one day and you look over and you're like, if I have to look at this person one more day, it is just going to be
I know how that feels.
It's tough. It's tough.
I know what that feels like. You're like, I am going to jump out this window myself.
Exactly. Can't do it no more.
And I didn't practice family law like the other attorneys that appear on this show. But one thing I saw when I did it for like 2 years. The one thing I saw was most people waited. I had to stop. It was too much. That's too much. I can't stand him. Calm down. Why you okay? But most people waited until the kids left the house. So when you talk to them, unfortunately, they're unhappy for a long time, but they kept it together for whatever reason until the kids left the house and they went about their business. If you have to do it, that's one way to go.
Right. I just find it so, I just feel like maybe because if I invested that much, I would rather, you know, there's this new term where you stay married in America. I don't know if many of our viewers have heard this. It's together but married but living separate. Have you guys heard the term?
Yeah.
So a lot of married couples have decided, instead of just like waiting till their kids get to, you know, school age or out of college to divorce, they decide to stay married but live separately. Google it. It's quite a phenomenon right now, but a lot of people who are saying, listen, I can't stand this person. They get on my nerves. I can't live with them anymore, but I want to stay married, but I want to live separate. And they get their own house or they get their own apartment. They share the kids like, you know, it's no real separation, and it's called Married but Living Separate. I would rather have seen Judge Mathis and Linda pull a Married but Living Separate than to just break it off after 39 years. But okay, moving on. Last one up in the courthouse is Marvin Harrison Sr. And guess what? Cardinals receiver Marvin Harris Jr. Welcome to the Court of Public Opinion. Now, this is probably one of the most interesting cases that we've seen here in the Court of Public Opinion. Fanatics has filed a lawsuit against the Cardinals receiver, Marvin Harris Jr., on the binding term sheet that Marvin Harris Sr. actually signed. Attorney Ross, take it away. Tell me why this case is so interesting and only one of its kind.
It's painful to me because Marvin Harrison Jr. played football at The Ohio State University, my school, and I'm sorry to see he's starting his NFL career off with a lawsuit. But he is a prolific athlete, will be a Hall of Famer, and he's one to watch. His father played football with a man everyone knows, Peyton Manning. He's the man. I mean, a Hall of Famer. He was every Sunday. He was the man. Marvin Harrison, like many athletes, right out of the NFL, out of college. In case you don't know this, when athletes go to the NFL Players Association has already negotiated agreements with licensed vendors, one of them being Fanatics. So when you walk across the stage, you get your bonus check, you sign a bunch of agreements. One was with Fanatics. Marvin Harrison, according to Fanatics, negotiated a separate agreement that paid him $1 million in exchange.
Marvin Harris Jr.
Correct. Junior, the son, gets to go to Vegas, sign trading cards. He has to do some things. They gave him $110,000 up front. According to Fanatics, he never showed up and says we never had a deal. So he moves to dismiss the case. Well, and the judge agreed to dismiss the case. He says the reason you should dismiss the case, Judge, isn't because I signed the agreement. It's because my dad signed the agreement and my dad doesn't have the authority to bind me personally. Rather, he has the ability to bind my company. So what he's trying to do is play on business laws, right? And Chaton's going to jump all over this, trying to play on business laws where if you set up an S Corp, a C Corp, an LLC, you are setting up a separate alter ego of yourself, which that can be sued. It's a living, breathing entity, but it's not you yourself. So what he's trying to do is leverage that and say, you didn't have Marvin Harrison. You had Marvin Harrison Collection, which my dad signed that and I didn't. So because you sued me personally, if you dismiss your lawsuit and sue my dad. And that's what you see happening right now. It's an amazing father. I think, and what Fanatics did was compare the signatures in their amended complaint to say the signatures are the same. And if you look at them, they are the same. So now it's going to be very no, between Junior and Junior. Junior said, I didn't sign that contract. That's not my signature. But if you look at the signature on the term sheet and you look at the signature of the autographs, they're the same.
Okay, so, now, but this is a deal. On the term sheet, did Junior sign Marvin Harrison Sr., SR, or did he sign Marvin Harrison Jr.? Because I don't like deception now.
He signed MH.
NH.
Marvin Harrison.
Marvin Harrison, MH from Marvin.
Oh, so he just put the M and the H.
He put the M and H, and he said that's my dad's signature, it's not mine. Therefore, because I didn't sign it personally, you can't hold me liable personally. You can try and go after my company, you can try and go after my father, but you can't go after me. Well, his dad didn't sign the deal. It wasn't. They never intended for his dad to be the person out here selling jerseys. They wanted Marvin Harrison Jr. So he's trying to get out of it that way. You ask me, I think he's in trouble. And
it sounds like trouble to me. Attorney, what do you think?
This sounds like some street mess to me, right? Like people have, like, you send your cousin who looks like you down when somebody's seeking for you, so it's not really you, right? It's just a whole farce. That's why he is getting sued for fraud by Fanatics, because they're like, look, if your daddy signed it, we weren't trying to have a deal with him. And so you committed fraud by having this other person sign it. We always wanted you. We negotiated with you in good faith. And this other stuff is smoke and mirrors to try to cover for the fact that you didn't show up when you were supposed to and you're in breach of contract. But interestingly, they must have somewhat of a weak case on the breach of contract claim because he threw up this issue. And so they're pursuing him for fraud.
Right.
Got it. Now, how did the dad get charged with fraud also? Is it because the son is saying that he used his name? Because the son is saying dad signed it, so now dad is drug into this. The reason why I ask this is because I just don't want to see two very highly successful athletes' name end up soiled like this, because the son does not want to take responsibility for getting that cash advance, that $100,000.
He got the money.
He got that $100,000 probably spending in Vegas. Got a chain. I'm telling you that. I'm just telling you that's probably what ended up happening.
So what happened is, okay, for all the alligators are watching, if you want to dismiss something, sometimes you can file what's called an affidavit. Everyone say affidavit. Affidavits are used to streamline court. Basically, an affidavit is the same thing as you walking into court, sitting down next to the judge, raising your right hand, swearing to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, and then talking. You are committing something under what's called penalty of perjury. So to get the first lawsuit dismissed, they filed an affidavit of his father, Marvin Harrison Sr., who said, my son never signed that. I signed that. Then they filed an affidavit of Marvin Harrison Jr. to say, I didn't sign that. My dad signed that.
Got it.
Affidavit supported. So the judge says, we got this affidavit, and their Fanatics lawyer says, we can deal with that. We're going to change our lawsuit, dismiss it, and file a new one. The judge says, no problem. So they filed a new one. And in the new one, they allege, like Attorney Shaitan brightly said, fraud. Fraud is not something you want to deal with. Fraud is not something you want to deal with.
Right.
That's contract you can live with.
Right.
Fraud?
Right.
Okay.
Fraud is that automatically is like a white glove crime, right?
Not good, man. It triggers attorney's fees and costs.
White collar, sorry. Yeah. That's just a whole.
They're pursuing it civilly right now, but there are criminal fraud charges that could ensue too. And the other thing that's unfortunate, right, is if I were representing the Harrisons in the first trial, I probably would have taken a different tactic, right? Because the defense that they presented was a little too cute and it was short-sighted, right? It dealt with the claim at hand, but it did not consider the unintended consequences of having them sign those affidavits attesting that it wasn't me, it was my dad, and dad saying I did it. Like, the limits of a father's love, I guess, are potentially going to jail and, $1 million, because Mr. Harrison, the elder, he just like bought himself a whole heap of trouble. I'm not entirely sure who was representing him through this. He probably had counsel from the company's lawyers, and the company's lawyers were trying to protect his son. So it's a mess. They need to just give the money back and call it a day. And they'll probably have to pay a little bit more, because Fanatics probably incurred some damages for his failure to appear. And I haven't heard, I don't know if you have, Attorney Ross, why didn't he go? Like, where the hell was he? What was he doing?
I'm telling you right now, he got other people came to him and said, they paid you $1 million, we'll give you $2 million.
We'll give you $2 million. Yeah.
And he was like, well, I'm not going to go to sit down for this money when I can get double the money just by going across the street. Right. And that's what you see happening. But the young man, you need an education. It doesn't work that way. You are a moving target. What you do is, let's buy our way out of that contract.
The first contract, or have the person who's offering a second contract buy out your first contract and then offer you the new money that you had already got from the old one. So you could have got your 2 chains, buddy, but no, you wanted to be greedy. You wanted to be greedy. And now the family name is going down in flames under a fraud charge, which is where I said before I don't like. All right, everybody, that's a part of the show that ends our show tonight. But we're going to the part where we ask you, the people, the questions. If you have any questions, first up, let's see what we got. You know, I got to take my glasses off. J12, aka says, can she fight his application for the trademark? It's not a done deal yet. Talking about the trans girl, can she fight his application for the trademark? Yes, she absolutely can, as long as she can prove that she put that term into use before his filing, and in his filing, he has to show that he put that term into use before she put it into use, right, lawyers? So yes. She definitely can fight, and that's what we're hoping to see. All right, TR, thank you for paying attention.
She doesn't necessarily have to, she should, but part of the trademark awarding process is that they do a search to see if it's been used anywhere else. Like it's not just somebody runs, they file, and they get a trademark. It's an entire process.
Right, that's right. All right, TR, thank you for watching. TR said, where's our girl, Attorney Redwine? Attorney Redwine is traveling and not able to join us tonight. All right, Sherry Hamilton, could Mr. Peak sue for defamation per se? Attorney Ross, what say you?
Negligence per se stems from a theory that the thing speaks for itself. I don't think that he could sue for negligence per se probably because of his own activities, right? Like, so I don't know if he's going to get to negligence per se. I don't even think it's to negligence. Like, it's what duty did she owe him, right? Negligence is always duty, causation, breach, damages. So what duty did she owe him? Like nothing. Yeah, he's got no case.
What do you think, Attorney Turner?
Well, yeah, and I would say no, because for defamation per se, that little nuance piece, it requires it be done and relate to his profession. And so I don't know what his profession would be that would tie into a defamation per se allegation. So I don't think it would be a successful claim, but this is America. People can sue for a lot of things.
Yeah, you're right. All right, Bird Tree, TRIE. Thank you for joining us tonight. Do we really know why they're divorcing any of them? Asking for a friend. I don't think we really know why they're divorcing, right? I guess we can assume why they're divorcing, but we really don't know. Okay, Master Moncoerl Coete says, I wonder what her real worth is, just her name and assets. Does she get anything from family? You mean, I think he's talking about Tina. I can imagine Tina has a lot of, what would you consider, what would the majority of her net worth be tied to? Association to? Her Instagram followers, her access,
being some sort of producer on things that were made by
producer intellectual property, as the mother of a child star, a legend, an icon. I think her network
things,
designed. Yeah, so she has her own product, and then she also has the income associated with the relationships that's been monetized. So if you remember, I think Blue Ivy was the youngest person ever to win a Grammy because they had put her on an album. So Beyonce and Jay-Z are geniuses in terms of how to make money, how to get it work for you, and how to support their family. So I'm sure that she is worth a lot. What she holds individually versus what she holds collectively or in some sort of sheltered asset probably is a question for debate, which is also why he probably settled for what he got.
Okay. Also pay for access,
True. Okay, Sonny Clark said, why divorce at this point? Just stay married and separate. We say the same thing, Sonny. We agree with you. Thank you for watching. Huh?
What about sex? Y'all act like people just hoeing around while married. Some people do not believe in having sex with other people when they are married to another. I know somebody who does believe in that, but not everybody does. And because of that, that might be what's motivating them getting divorced.
I'm cut from that cloth, Shaitan, so I can agree with you that, but I gotta tell you, when I look around, I'm probably not the norm. I feel like everyone is out here everyone, I feel like a large number of people do not respect the institution of marriage the way they used to. And I think they look at it now as more as a business transaction than a commitment to each other. But let's keep it moving. Keish M says, who spent the money though? Keish M, we don't know. All right, everybody, we're at that part of the show where we, the lawyers and the judge, give our judgment today. First up, very demure, very mindful. Is Jefferson Bates guilty or not guilty of taking advantage of Jules LeBron's trademark? Attorney Brian Ross, what say you?
Not guilty. She should have trademarked it. You're a businesswoman. You got 35 million viewers. You have to know one lawyer. You should have trademarked it. And I'm sorry. I hope you don't lose it. But guess what? It's a race to the courthouse. And so far, you're in second.
All right. Attorney Shatan Turner, what say you for this trans lady?
Breaks my heart, but he's shrewd and not guilty.
Yep. All right. This is Al, and I'm the judge here in the court of public opinion. And I'm going to say that he is guilty. Guilty of charge of stealing her ideas, guilty of charge of being a pirate, and guilty of charge of being disgusting. Now, young lady, you are too guilty of not doing what you were supposed to do. Get to a lawyer's office, handle your business, and get this trademark back. All right, next up, Nicki Minaj, is she guilty or not guilty of slander towards the young man? What's his name? Is it Tamir?
Tamir.
Is Nicki guilty or not guilty? Brian Ross, what say you?
Nicki, you broke the man's heart. Can't you see he want to be your man? He worked so hard, but you're not guilty. He's just looks. You said he was a stalker, not me. So we're gonna say
not guilty. All right, yeah. Shatan Turner, attorney counselor, what say you? Is Nicki guilty or not guilty?
She's not guilty. He needs to take 2 seats.
All right, in the court of public opinion. In the court of public opinion.
Hey, Judge, it's all fired up tonight, Judge.
Nicki Minaj is found not guilty. She's not guilty. And as far as I'm concerned, Tamir Peak, you are guilty. Guilty of getting on Nicki's nerves. Please leave her alone. If you leave her alone, she will leave you alone, buddy. Let's keep going. Up next, Tina Knowles and Richard Lawson. Judge Mathis and Linda Mathis. What is the guilt here? Guilty or not guilty of no longer being in love? Attorney Brian Ross, is Tina Knowles guilty or not guilty of not being in love any longer? And is Linda Mathis guilty or not guilty of not being in love any longer?
2 different marriages. One was a really long time, and one was kind of a long time. Tina Knowles is not guilty of being in love. You got close to the dude. Right away, you knew it wasn't working. You knew he was after. All he wanted was front row tickets to the Jay-Z concert.
Oh, wow.
That's so different, all right? On the other side of it, Mathis, you was not allowed to be a lawyer. You was with the woman when the bar wouldn't even let you in. You was with her when you was on Broadway. You should have, whatever the 2, you got to stick with it. I mean, she's still beautiful. Come on, man.
Yeah.
You got to stay with this woman, man. Come on.
All right, so Judge Mathis is guilty. Linda Mathis is not guilty. Let's see. Richard is not guilty, and Tina Knowles is guilty from Attorney Ross. Okay, Attorney Turner. Is Tina guilty and Richard not guilty? Is Judge Mathis guilty and Linda not guilty?
The ladies are not guilty, but like Beyonce said, the men to the left. Like they just need to exit stage left, let these women live their lives and stop getting on their nerves.
All right, not guilty. All right,
that's amazing.
You disagree?
Judge Mathis one blows my mind.
All right, this is Al Reynolds, and I'm the judge, and I am going to say, in the case of Tina Knowles and Richard Lawson, they're both guilty. Guilty of giving up on love. You shouldn't give up on love that easy. It's only been 8 years. You could have stuck it out a little while longer. You could have tried to figure it out. All right, next up, Judge Mathis and Linda Mathis. Oh, man, I love this couple. I'm going to say nobody's guilty.
Spit it out. Spit it out.
I want to say nobody's guilty. I feel like these 2 need to go to mediation. I think they should probably separate. I think they should separate.
Take a break.
Through that separation, they are getting what they did not get in that marriage. I think during that separation time, they may find that they have figured it out and can actually get back together. I just don't want to see 39 years flushed down the toilet. So I'm not going to find any of them guilty. I'm going to send them to mediation before I give a verdict here in the court of public opinion. And that's my final word. Last up, Marvin Harrison Sr. or Marvin Harrison Jr. Is Marvin Harris Jr. guilty or not guilty of trying to ruin the family name? Attorney Shatan Turner, what say you?
He's guilty of being fooled. Yeah, he just needed to keep his daddy out of this problem, take a little bit of that contract money, deal with fanatics, chalk it up to the game, right? He made a mistake, and to stop engaging in what appears to be fraudulent behavior to try to cure his mistake.
All right, Attorney Ross, what say you? Is Harrison Jr.
Ohio State football fan? I'll never go against our players. Okay, so while it appears that there could be some malfeasance here, we're going to take it at its face value. It's called the four corners of the document. We're going directly against Attorney Shatan. Okay? You are not talking about my Buckeye.
We are not going to beat up on Attorney Shatan.
Talk about my boy. I'm going to turn into a Nicki Minaj fan on you, all right?
Oh, don't turn a Nicki Minaj fan on. She's not ready for that heat. All right, in the court of public opinion, Al, your judge, I'm going to find Marvin Harrison Jr. guilty of not being smart. If you're going to be a hustler, young man, hire a good lawyer and hustle correctly. Have the people who offer you more money to buy out the people that offer you less money so that you can have the benefits of both the monies. All right, everybody, that's going to conclude tonight's show. The court session has now ended. Thank you for watching.
Dun, 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 dun.